JavaScript bugs often happen because the code looks fine until it runs. In this video, you will see 20 practical TypeScript patterns that catch those mistakes earlier and make your code safer. Each example is short, real-world, and focused on code you can actually use. We start with values that often break JavaScript apps: missing data, loose parameters, invalid strings, and nested API responses. These patterns are simple, but they prevent bugs before the code reaches production. A user profile API may return a user without a display name, and this is exactly where plain JavaScript often crashes. Let's write the first version and run the type checker. The bug is that we call trim as if name always exists. Now we fix it by treating the missing name as a real case, not as a surprise. Optional chaining runs trim only when a name exists, and the fallback gives us guessed. Now we run the script and the UI gets a safe value. Let's break down why this works. The type says name can be missing, so TypeScript forces us to check that path. The result is boring in the best way. No crash, just a predictable label. The best practice here is to keep strict null checks turned on and model missing data. Honestly, use optional fields when the API can omit a value, then narrow it, or provide a fallback at the edge of your UI. Price helpers look harmless, but they often receive values from forms, APIs, or cart state. Let's type the helper as accepting a number, then accidentally pass a string. Now we run the type check and TypeScript stops the bug before it becomes a runtime problem. Now we fix the caller instead of weakening the function. The helper still accepts only a number, and the cart value is passed as a number. We run it again and get the formatted price. Let's break down the result. The function boundary is now a contract. Callers must give us a number, and the function promises to return a string. That small contract removes an entire class of input bugs. The best practice is to avoid any @function boundaries, especially public helpers and API adapters. If a value is unknown, validate or parse it first, then pass a clean typed value into the rest of your code. Order systems usually support a fixed list of states, and one typo can send the wrong path through your logic. Let's create a status union and then accidentally pass shipped with 1p missing. When we check the code, TypeScript catches the typo immediately. Now we correct the value to one of the allowed statuses. Nothing else in the function needs to change because the type already describes the valid domain. We run it and get the correct order message. Let's break down why this is safer than a plain string. The union type turns business rules into code the compiler can enforce. If the value is not one of the known statuses, it never reaches the function. The best practice is to use literal unions for closed sets like statuses, roles, sizes, and modes. Reach for string only when the value is truly open-ended. A customer record from a third-party API might not include an address at all. Let's model that honestly and read the city with optional chaining. Now we run the script, and instead of crashing, the UI gets a useful fallback. For comparison, this is the runtime failure we avoid when code directly reads through a missing object. The safe version never tries to access city on undefined. Let's break down why this works. The question mark before dot means keep going only if the left side exists. The double question mark means use the fallback only when the value is null or undefined. The best practice is to use optional chaining when reading data you do not fully control, especially API responses. Always pair it with a fallback when the screen needs a real display value. Now we move from single values to collections. Arrays are easy to mutate by accident, so the next pattern makes read-only intent visible to both humans and TypeScript. A reporting helper should calculate top scores, not rewrite the dashboard's original data. Let's accept a root all or array and then accidentally call sort directly on it. When we check the code, TypeScript blocks the mutation. Now we fix the helper by copying the array before sorting. The copy is mutable, but the caller's array stays protected. We run it and compare the top scores with the original order. Let's break down the important part. Roolize protects the input parameter, and the spread operator creates a fresh array for sorting. That means the helper returns useful data without causing side effects. The best practice is to accept root alter arrays and helpers that should only inspect data. This makes your function's intent visible and lets TypeScript prevent accidental mutation. Now we move into safer object shapes. These examples show how TypeScript can catch configuration mistakes before they become production bugs. Feature flags and environment config often decide what users can access, so a typo can quietly disable the wrong thing. Let's create an app config type, then intentionally misspell enable checkout as enable checkout and run the compiler to see what TypeScript catches. Now we fix the property name so the object matches the shape we promised. After that, we run the script again and the config values print normally. Let's break down why this works. The object is checked when it is created, so TypeScript does not wait until some later line tries to read enable checkout. That makes config bugs loud and early. The better pattern is to type configuration at the moment you define it, not only where you consume it. Use this for feature flags, API settings, payment options, and anything that controls production behavior. Next, we handle data that comes from outside the program. TypeScript is strongest when external data is treated as untrusted until runtime checks prove its shape. APIs can return bad data, old data, or data from a broken deploy. Here we parse JSON as unknown, write an isProduct guard, and only print the price after the guard proves the shape is valid. Now we run it and compare one invalid payload with one valid payload. Let's unpack the result. The first payload fails because price is a string, so we never call to fixed on the wrong type. After isProduct returns true, TypeScript narrows data and lets us use product fields safely. The best approach at data boundaries is to be strict first and convenient later. Use unknown for API responses, files, local storage, and message queues, then narrow the value before passing it into the rest of your app. API helpers often return either real data or a failure message. Instead of mixing nullable fields together, we model success and failure as two separate shapes with the same OK flag. Now we run it and both paths behave without crashes. Let's look at the important part. When result OK is true, TypeScript knows this is the success variant, so result of data is available. After that branch returns, the remaining path must be the failure variant, so result O error is available. The better pattern is to make impossible API states impossible in the type. Use separate variants for success and failure, especially in fetch helpers, service layers, and form submissions. Payment code is a place where missing one case can become expensive. We add a new bank transfer payment method, but the old switch only handles card and PayPal. Now we run the compiler and the never check tells us exactly that a case was forgotten. Now we fix the switch by adding the bank transfer branch. The never line stays in place, but now it is unreachable for all real variants, so the code compiles and prints the correct processing message. Let's break down the trick. If every case is handled, the default branch has no possible value left, so method has type never. If one variant is missing, method is still that variant, and assigning it to never becomes a compiler error. The best use case for this pattern is business-critical branching. Apply exhaustive checks to payments, permissions, order states, and workflow statuses where forgetting a new variant should fail during development. The last example in this batch focuses on arrays. TypeScript can model not only what an item is, but also whether a list is allowed to be empty. A notification service usually needs at least one recipient before it can send anything. First, we define a non-empty array tuple type and try to call the function with an empty list. Now we run the compiler and TypeScript rejects the call before recipients can become undefined. Now we pass a list with one required first item and one optional extra recipient. The function can safely read index 0 and the output shows the first email address. Let's explain the shape. The first T in the tuple is required, and the rest operator allows more items after it. So this is still an array, but it is an array that cannot be empty. The best pattern is to encode required collection size when the function depends on it. Use this for primary recipients, first selected item, fallback chains, and any API that needs at least one value. In this section, we use TypeScript to make domain rules visible in code. The goal is to stop invalid values before they reach production logic. Analytics events are a perfect place for hidden JavaScript bugs, because a typo still looks like a normal string. Let's define the allowed events once, derive the union type from that object, and now try to send a misspelled event so the compiler can catch it before runtime. Now we fix the call by using the shared constant instead of typing the string by hand. When we run the script again, the payload uses the exact event name that the rest of the app expects. Let's break down why this works. The object is marked with as const, so TypeScript keeps each value as a precise literal instead of widening it to string. Then the analytics event name type is generated from the object values, which means the runtime constants and the compile time type cannot drift apart. The best practice here is to centralize shared codes and generate the type from that same source. Use this for analytics events, payment statuses, feature flags, and any value that crosses multiple files or services. A common JavaScript bug is passing the right kind of value to the wrong function. It is a string, but it is the wrong string. Here we define branded user ID and order ID types, then intentionally pass an order ID into load user to see TypeScript stop the mistake. Now we fix the call by creating a real user ID and passing that into load user. The runtime output is still just a normal object, but the compiler protected the boundary before the code ran. Let's break down the result. The brand does not add a real runtime field that we use in the object, it only gives the compiler an extra type marker. That marker makes two string-based IDs incompatible unless we explicitly create the right branded value. The best practice is to use branded types for identifiers that must never be swapped. Apply this at service boundaries, database wrappers, and domain functions where a plain string is too weak to express intent. Now we move to control flow. The focus is making expected failures visible so callers do not accidentally skip important error handling. CSV imports and form inputs fail all the time, so treating every bad value as an exception can make callers forget the error path. Let's return a result union from parse quantity, handle both branches, and then run valid and invalid input in the same script. Let's break down why this is safer. Once we check result OK, TypeScript narrows the union. In the failure branch, we have error, and in the success branch, we have value. The caller cannot pretend parsing always succeeded. The best practice is to use result for failures that are part of normal business flow. Use it for validation, parsing, and remote calls, where the caller is expected to recover or show a controlled message. For practice, add one more rule yourself. Reject quantities above 100 and return a clear error message. Then confirm the caller handles that branch without throwing. In this section, we tighten object shapes. These patterns help catch configuration mistakes and subtle object bugs while the code is still being written. Patch payloads often mean only send fields that changed. If name is unchanged, sending name as undefined can be a real bug. So with exact optional properties enabled, let's try that mistake and watch the compiler reject it. Now we fix the payload by omitting name completely. When we run the script, the JSON contains only the email field, which is the patch behavior we actually wanted. Let's break down the important detail. Name optional means the property can be absent. It does not automatically mean the property can be present with undefined when exact optional property types is turned on. The best practice is to enable exact optional property types when omission and undefined carry different meaning. It is especially useful for patch APIs, configuration objects, and update commands. Route maps are small, but a missing slash can break navigation in production. Let's use satisfies to validate that every route value starts with a slash, then intentionally put one bad value in the object. Now we fix the route by adding the leading slash. When we run the script, navigation receives the exact valid path from the route map. Let's break down the advantage. A normal type annotation can make values wider than we want, but satisfies checks the shape while preserving the literal values inside the object. That means helpers can still know that routes settings is exactly /settings. The best practice is to use satisfies for configuration maps where the object must match a rule, but exact values still matter. It works well for routes, feature config, permissions, environment keys, and command registries. Now we move into reusable utilities. These examples show how to write helpers that stay flexible without accepting the wrong data. In JavaScript, a reusable index helper can accidentally accept objects that have no ID at all. In TypeScript, we keep the helper reusable but add the smallest required shape. Every item must have a string ID. Now we run it and see that the index value is still a full user, not just an object with ID. Now look at the safety check. If we try to pass objects that only have SKU and price, the compiler stops us before runtime because the helper promised it can read ID. Let's break down why this works. The helper does not need to know about users, products, or any app-specific model. It only requires ID, and TypeScript carries the rest of the caller's type through the return value. The best approach is to constrain only the shape your helper actually needs. Use T extends ID, string, not any, and not a huge domain-specific type, so the utility stays reusable and type-safe. A common form bug is keeping a separate error type that no longer matches the form. Here we make sign-out form the source of truth, then derive allowed error keys from it. Now we run the script and the error object prints with only valid form fields. If someone adds an error key that is not part of sign-out form, TypeScript rejects it. This catches typos like username when the real field is display name. Let's break down the type. Keen.at gets the field names from the form model. Record turns those names into possible error keys, and partial allows a form to have only the errors that are currently present. The best practice is to derive related shapes from one source type. Use this when API payloads, form values, filters, or error maps should always stay aligned. Next, we model domain rules directly in the type system. The goal is to catch malformed values while they are still just strings in code. A cache miss can be caused by one extra letter in a string key. Here the domain allows keys that start with user colon or order colon, so we put that rule into the type. Now we run the lookup and see a valid user key return the cached value. Now we try the bug, users plural. The string looks close, but it is not a valid cache key format, and the compiler catches it immediately. Let's break down why this is useful. We are still using normal strings at runtime, but TypeScript checks their structure while we code. That prevents a whole class of silent lookup failures. The best way to use this pattern is for predictable string formats, cache keys, event names, feature flags, and route names. Keep the format strict enough to catch typos, but simple enough that other developers can read it quickly. Now we cross runtime boundaries. These are places where TypeScript needs help because values come from the environment, the network, or user input. A CLI command should fail early if the API token is missing. We write an assertion function that checks the runtime value and tells TypeScript what is true after the check. Now we run it with API token provided and print only the token length. If API token is absent, the same code stops with a focused error. That is much better than sending a broken request or crashing later in unrelated code. Let's break down the important part. The return type says asserts value is string, which means this function either throws or the value is definitely a string after it returns. That connects runtime validation to compile time narrowing. The best practice is to use assertion functions at required boundaries, like configuration, environment variables, and startup checks. Validate once, fail clearly, and let the rest of the code use the narrowed type. The final section focuses on control flow. We make async steps explicit, so success, failure, and return data cannot be mixed up. A checkout flow has several places where things can fail, and plain promises do not tell us how to handle each failure. Here, every async step returns the same result shape, so the pipeline must branch before it uses successful data. Now we run both a valid cart and an invalid cart. Let's break down the flow. After each await, the code checks OK before touching value. That means failed states move through the pipeline as data instead of becoming hidden nulls or unexpected thrown errors. The invalid cart does not crash the app and it does not create a partial order. The inventory step returns a typed failure and checkout returns that failure directly. The best practice is to make async boundaries return explicit success or failure shapes. Use this pattern for checkout, imports, background jobs, and API orchestration where every step can fail differently. Now you have 20 TypeScript patterns that can help you avoid common JavaScript bugs. If this helped, like the video, subscribe to Dev Level Up, and write in the comments what TypeScript topic or real-world example you want next.